My name is Gary Kennedy, and if you're watching this video, either you or a loved one has lost an eye, and you may be interested in what they might be going through. And so I'm going to try to describe some of it during this video. I've been wearing the eye patch for about 18 years now. It started one day when I was in the garage prying with a screwdriver, and the screwdriver slipped and went through my eye, taking out the back retina in the back of it. At first, when it first happened, I really didn't know what was going on. A lot of white liquid on my hand. I didn't know what I hit. I was more or less in shock. I yelled for my wife. My wife came immediately. She knew something was wrong, and took me to the hospital. At the hospital, they told me that there was no time for a second opinion, that they had to sew the eye up immediately. What they sewed up was the front of the eye, I gather. I'm not really sure. After that, I had to have surgeries. And I suggest that if it's you or a loved one or your child or whatever, someone goes to the doctor with you, because you're not going to remember everything. It's a traumatic experience. You're not going to remember everything. The one thing I did not know is your eyes are different. I didn't know that before I lost my eye. This happened to be my dominant eye. In other words, my good eye. So when I lost this eye, I could hardly see anything. Everything was pretty messed up and blurry. It pretty much destroyed me at that point.
So you felt vulnerable?
Oh yes, very vulnerable, like a half a person. I mean, this half of the world disappeared. And as you can see, even 18 years later, it's still emotional. It's not something that you get over. It's something that you work through. And it's hard on the individual. It's hard on the family. Because the individual, speaking of myself, I was angry, hostile, and your family gets affected by that as well. So if you're the one that lost your eye, remember what you're doing does affect your family as well. You lose your depth perception. That's one of the hard parts is losing the depth perception. But I can tell you this: your brain reworks it. You do learn. At first, I worked with tools a lot, and I had to take a screwdriver, and take the tips of one hand on the screwdriver and put it on top of the screw. I couldn't just go like this on top of a screw. Totally impossible without depth perception. At this point in my life, I can use a screwdriver or whatever quite well. So your brain does relearn how to do a lot of things without the depth perception. Maybe one of the best things you can do is get a 4x4 with a bunch of nails and pound a bunch of nails in, but keep your fingers away from there, because you're going to miss that nail. I tore my fingers up a lot by building rec rooms and stuff like that. But by getting your hand and eye coordination, at a close point, and it's not going to happen fast, but work on it. On anything that you can, threading a needle, anything you can think of that it takes hand and eye coordination. Work on it, you will get it back. Also, driving. When I first got out of the hospital, my biggest fear is that I would not be able to drive. I was a contractor. I was driving a 1-ton pickup truck, pulling a 30-foot trailer 3-4 times a week. And when I lost my eye, I thought, now what? So after I got out of the hospital, a couple weeks later, my wife took me out on a country road, let me drive her car, where I couldn't hurt anybody else, and it went very well. I felt confident. Yes, I could drive her car. The next thing I had to do was get into that 1-ton pickup and drive that around, and I mastered that without too much problem. Took a while driving, and I got the confidence to put the 30-foot trailer on the back of the pickup and start pulling that again. I don't think there's anything that you can't do with the one eye that you were doing with 2 eyes before. It's up to you to work at it, keep working at it. Everything does get better. One thing I suggest is if you have a girlfriend or a wife or whatever side that you've lost your eye on, have her walk on that side. And the reason I'm saying that is you will walk into people. But they turn around when you do it. They do turn around. They see the eye patch and they say, "Oh, I'm sorry," even though you're the one that did it. But if she walks on that side, it avoids you walking into people, things, because, like I said, there's nothing over here anymore, and that you don't get used to it. It's just something that you start applying in your life. You look further. I still walk into things every once in a while, and it's been many a years. But life is not over. Is not over because I lost an eye. It means I had to learn how to live my life differently.
Well, speaking of learning, what were some of the immediate results after the accident of losing your eye, or some things that you had to learn how to do again?
Well, like I said, I couldn't use a screwdriver. I couldn't use a hammer. Simple things like I'm at the dinner table. I go to the refrigerator. I get the milk, and I pour the milk on the table next to the glass. I can pour a glass of milk now without any problem, or a cup of coffee without any problem now. But it got a little frustrating. Everyday simple things. I'm pouring milk on the table, and I got to clean it up. It all gets better though, and that's basically the message I wanted to get across to people. Is you can talk to doctors and you can talk to other people that haven't lost an eye, and they really don't know. So I wanted to share my experience with people out there that have just lost an eye. That it's absolutely terrible. It's not something that you'll totally ever get over. I can't catch a ball. Some things that people throw at me, if I'm lucky, I can catch it. But most of the time I can't catch it. So the people that know me, they just don't throw things at me.